Austin Whitsitt, flat earth big dick swinger or just a dick? Let's find out.
Heliocentrism has never been proven. It's a religion.
Okay, so I didn't actually expect my answer this early in the video, but we're here now, aren't we? So we may as well go through the whole thing. Please subscribe.
Heliocentrism has never been proven. It's a religion. Of course, not a religion about some personified God. A religion is defined as being a belief system built upon the doctrine of men without any actual verifiable evidence. It requires belief and faith.
Really? What dictionary did you use? Because the Oxford English Dictionary defines religion as the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. And to be fair to you, because you're American, I've checked the Merriam-Webster dictionary as well, because I know that's what you all use. And that says that religion is a personal set of institutionalized systems of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices, the service and worship of God or the supernatural. So neither of them say that religion is built on a doctrine of men. But you're right about believing things with no verifiable evidence, and you'd know better than me because you do it all the time.
Requires belief in something that you can't directly empirically verify.
So using your own logic then, that would mean that belief in the flat earth is a religion. I mean, you can't verify or demonstrate that the earth is flat, so it must.
And that's the idea that the earth is a tilted, wobbling, spinning ball flying around the sun. Contrary to popular belief, it has in no way been proven. We're going to get into it.
What? Saying that you can't prove the earth is a globe is like saying you can't prove pizza is delicious. It's just common sense. And I know common sense isn't that common in the flat earth community.
Here is a bit of a timeline. Now we have an entire stream, a previous episode where we broke down each one of these events.
And when you say you broke them down, do you mean you watched them, realized that none of them support a flat earth, and just called them all fake? Is that what you mean by broke them down?
But I just wanted to kind of cover some of the basics here so you get an idea of really where this came from. Oh, we knew the earth was a globe thousands of years ago is what you'll hear.
Yeah, but that's because we did. And what's that laugh about? Sounds like a nervous laugh to me, because in your heart of hearts, you know that you're talking complete and utter shite.
Okay, so we have the globe Earth inception in 350 BC, and this is, of course, as we know it, history as we know it.
Yeah, it was in the 3rd century BC that Hellenistic astronomy established the roughly spherical shape of the Earth. Oh yeah, and we were able to calculate Earth's circumference. So what are you trying to say, Austin? That in the 3rd century BC, when these discoveries were made, those people decided that they would start the biggest lie/conspiracy theory in the history of mankind?
Then they supposedly found the distance to the sun in 250 BC, and you have Eratosthenes right after that.
Look, I just don't understand how you giving us factually accurate information helps you argue that the Earth is flat. The first person to measure the distance to the sun was Greek astronomer Aristarchus around the year 250 BC, as you said. So was he in on the lie as well? You do realize that it wasn't just a case of him doing that and then everyone went, "Oh, well that's it, we don't need to do that again, we know now." Other people have done the same thing since. Like for example in 1653, astronomer Christian Huygens calculated the distance from Earth to the sun. Notice that I said calculated. I didn't say guessed. I didn't say assumed. I said that he calculated the distance to the sun.
And when they first supposedly found the distance to the sun, of course, it was completely wrong compared to what they claim it is now, which is supposedly 93 million miles away, which is a joke.
Well, it's not really a joke, it's more of a fact. And do you not think that with the advancements we've made in science, particularly in astrophysics, since 250 BC, would have helped us to make more accurate measurements?
They'll tell you Eratosthenes proved that the Earth was a sphere. Of course, he did no such thing. Looked at two shadows. The story's just completely ridiculous. There's no primary documentation it even happened, but it's a very convenient narrative to tell people to try to make it look like flat Earth was disproven by Greeks so long ago.
Austin, I think you're focusing your attention in the wrong place, pal. You don't need to worry that the Greeks proved that the Earth was a globe thousands of years ago. You need to worry about all the flat earthers proving that the Earth is a globe.
I mean, it's interesting.
You have the first globe model hundreds of years later, all the way in 1492 is when you get the first actual physical globe model, which was just like laughable and disproportionate and deformed.
Now, Crates of Malus is said to have made a globe model, as you call it, in about 150 BC. And the earliest surviving terrestrial globe was made in Nuremberg in 1492 by Martin Beheim, who almost certainly influenced Christopher Columbus to attempt to sail west to the Orient. And of course it was inaccurate. It was made using the limited understanding we had at that time. But with that being said, it was nowhere near as inaccurate and laughable as any of the flat earth maps we see being shown around on the internet.
Then you get the Copernican model in 1543, and that's the idea that we're flying around the sun, right? That the Earth is orbiting around the sun is in the center. Now, of course, they thought that the sun was in the center of the entire universe, and they've since had to change that.
Yeah, and people used to believe in the geocentric model, where the Earth was at the center of the universe, and that was for a very long time due to religious and philosophical reasons. The idea that the sun was at the center, known as the heliocentric model, actually came into play a bit later with Copernicus in the 16th century. He proposed it because it simplified the complicated movements of planets under the geocentric model into a more straightforward orbit around the sun. And this shift was quite radical, as it challenged the long-standing Earth-centered views of the wider philosophical and religious beliefs of the time. So essentially, the shift to thinking of the sun as the center was about aiming for a more simple and accurate explanation of how celestial bodies move. And you know what that tells us? Well, it tells us that people are willing to adapt their understanding of things as the information we gather gets better and more accurate. It's called science, pal.
Yes, science!
Which is why nowadays we understand that neither the Earth or the sun is at the center of the universe.
And then we get Kepler's laws. That's the laws that explain the planetary motion in terms of kinematics.
And let me guess, Kepler was wrong as well? Now, I have noticed that so far in your video, you've gone through a list of globe proofs, or whatever you want to call them, and said that they're all wrong, or they're all alleged or supposed. But what you haven't done is demonstrate to us why they're wrong and why the flat Earth model is a better choice.
And if you're not new to this channel, you know that kinematics, just how bodies move in relation to each other. People looked at the sky, saw that there's a ratio with how these things move, and you can actually, create an equation to describe that ratio, and it'll accurately, quote unquote, predict, although there is no prediction, they just keep doing the same thing forever.
But Kepler's laws are really accurate. Picture this, if you will, planets zipping around the sun on an elliptical racetrack, with the sun off center like a lazy referee. Kepler's laws tell us that these celestial bodies are faster when they're close to the sun, kind of like turbo boosting off its gravity, and that they slow down on the far stretches. And here's the kicker. That's exactly what they do. The time a planet takes to do a full lap around this cosmic track fits into a nifty mathematical pattern, much like a recipe that bakes perfectly every time. So while it might look like the planets are just endlessly looping with no change, they're actually following some pretty intricate cosmic choreography.
And then they estimated what the size of Venus was, the distance of Venus, and then they just said, you know what, to try to make this model, we're just going to assume the Earth is the same size as Venus, exactly the same.
Well, it's not exactly the same size, it's a similar size, and there's that word again, assume. Nobody assumed that Venus was almost the same size as Earth, but there is a good reason why it's sometimes referred to as Earth's sister planet. What the hell has any of this got to do with the Earth being flat anyway?
1666, Newtonian gravity supposedly discovered gravity. There was no discovery. He didn't discover anything, or that would require he'd be the first one to ever see something fall.
I don't know why you keep laughing. All you're showing us is the Dunning-Kruger effect. And as we all know, that's a cognitive bias where individuals like Whitsitt and every other flat earther who have a low ability or knowledge in a certain area overestimate their own ability or knowledge. So essentially, you're confident you know a lot about something when you actually don't. And you're showing how little you understand, which is why you make significant errors in judgment and make bad claims about the topic, like the shape of the Earth. And I know I've said this many times before, but how arrogant does someone have to be to do what flat earthers do? And I know you all think you've got some super secret knowledge, but the fact is, you don't. And you sound pathetic doing what you do.
It's the same year the selenium eclipse was first documented, conveniently enough, which also debunks the globe.
Except it doesn't. In fact, it works perfectly with a spherical Earth. Refraction allows the light of the sun and the moon to be visible even when geometrically they should be below the horizon. So it's a neat trick of our atmosphere bending light around the curve of Earth rather than evidence supporting a flat Earth model.
Michelson-Morley, 1887, ionosphere. year, 1901 relativity, 1905 special relativity, 05 general relativity, 1915. NACO was founded in 1915, predecessor to NASA.
And what do you think that proves?
You have the expanding universe theory come up to try to explain why everything makes it look like we're in the center of the universe unexpectedly. 1925, around that time, is where you have Hubble looking out further into space and discovering they have a problem. 1931, the Big Bang Theory.
You know, when you think about it, it's actually quite cute that he thinks these 15 things all prove that the Earth isn't a globe, even though most of them are only a thing because the Earth is a globe.
Now this is where it gets very interesting. You get to 1945, Operation Paperclip. You got the government bringing people over, bringing Nazis over. They put paperclips in different folders to have them integrate into the United States.
Yeah, that did happen. Your point being?
So then you have the very next year, after bringing them over here, they go explore Antarctica, Operation High Jump. And the CIA was founded the very next year.
Well, Operation High Jump, the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program, which was an operation to establish the Antarctic Research Base, and the formation of the CIA, which was and still is an intelligence gathering organization. Do you know, I'm not following your logic here. Are you saying that the two are somehow linked? And I'll be honest, they may well be, but I can't see how this is relevant to the shape of the Earth.
And then you have the Mars Project, written by Werner von Braun, one of the people brought over in Operation Paperclip, an SS officer of the Nazi regime. And in this book, the main character's title is Elon, and he founds the first civilization on Mars.
I can see exactly what you're doing now, and I understand. Because you're incapable of actually debunking anything that shows that the Earth is a globe, you've decided that the best course of action is to try and discredit anything that's linked to that in any way. And Werner von Braun is an easy target. Silly me.
So, just a coincidence there. Then you get to 1952. NSA was founded. And then 55, Operation Deep Freeze, go back to Antarctica. They ended up founding the first American base there called Little America. Then you have the DEW system in 1957. That is where they started actually monitoring the north. So they go out to the south and then they come back out to the north. And they put up it's now called like the North Warning System, but there's basically a trip line around the North Pole and they monitor anything inside of a certain latitude, right? And then you have NASA, founded in 1958, the next year. And then in 1959, they signed the Antarctic Treaty, so now they're monitoring the inside and the outside.
As hard as this may be for flat earthers to understand, but all the Antarctic Treaty does is prevent anybody from carrying out military activities in Antarctica, and it ensures that it is only used for scientific research.
And then you have the DIA, founded in 61, Operation Fishbowl, high altitude missiles. Of course, that part of Dominique, which translates to of the Lord. So Operation Fishbowl of the Lord, they shot high altitude missiles up. And then we got in the 30s, we actually have documents now that are declassified that says that they had approximation methods to determine the brightness of the firmament that were proven accurate, and that it has different zenith measurements, meaning that there's literally a distance, a zenith measurement.
Well, that's all very interesting, and I only have one thing to say in reply. A zenith distance is the angular distance from the zenith of a point on a celestial sphere to another sphere, measured along a great circle that is perpendicular to the horizon. And I know now that every flat earther will say, yeah, but the dome is a sphere. To which the only real response is, prove it then, dumbasses!
And then we get over to the JFK moon landing announcement, 1962. 67, there was a space treaty signed. In 67, you have Gus Grissom dying after saying we can't go to the moon, that it's ridiculous. Then 1968, 2001 Space Odyssey comes out, film of the year, basically propagandizes everyone to believe we're about to go to the moon. And also Newsbenders comes out where they tell you everything about space is fake in 1968. Then 1969, they supposedly go to the moon. And then they see the Earth from space, confirming the Earth is allegedly a sphere in 1972 at the tail end of the Apollo missions.
Over the last 60 years, and this figure shocked me to be honest because I've never actually looked it up before, but astronauts have shot more than 1.5 million photographs of Earth from the International Space Station and other spacecraft. So yeah, nice job, Austin. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love you, bye. Oh, you're still here then. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe even learned something new. If you did, then you'll probably enjoy this video as well. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're new. And I will see you all again very soon, or in a few minutes if you do decide to watch this recommended video. Love you, bye.